As Halloween approached, the small town of Millfield buzzed with excitement. Every year, Ravenwood Manor transformed into the ultimate haunted house experience, drawing thrill-seekers from miles around. This year, however, the buzz was accompanied by an undercurrent of fear. Whispers spread about the manor's dark history, the sudden disappearance of the owners years ago, and the chilling rumors that the house was truly haunted. Emily Carter, an adventurous spirit with a love for the macabre, was among those drawn to Ravenwood. She had heard tales of the manor's ghostly inhabitants and was eager to explore its secrets. When she received an invitation to a special Halloween tour, she felt an irresistible pull. Dressed in a black dress adorned with orange lace, Emily made her way to the manor on the night of the event. The air was crisp, leaves swirling in the wind as she approached the towering structure. The full moon illuminated the dilapidated facade, casting eerie shadows that danced like phantoms. As she stepped through the wrought iron gate, a chill ran down her spine. The atmosphere was electric, a mixture of thrill and dread. A sign at the entrance read, "Enter if you dare." Inside, the foyer was dimly lit, adorned with cobwebs and flickering candles. The sound of laughter and nervous chatter filled the air as guests gathered. Emily's heart raced with anticipation as she surveyed the room. She spotted a group of friends huddled together, their faces painted with frightful expressions, and a couple dressed as ghosts, swaying gently as if lost in their own world. The tour guide, a tall man with a deep voice and an unsettling smile, stepped forward. "Welcome to Ravenwood Manor, where the veil between the living and the dead is as thin as the air you breathe. Tonight, we will embark on a journey through the house's haunted past, where each room holds a story, and perhaps a spirit." A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd as the guide led them deeper into the manor. Emily followed closely, her pulse quickening with every step. They entered the first room, the parlor, its walls lined with portraits of stern ancestors whose eyes seemed to follow them. The guide shared stories of the previous owners, the Ravenswoods, who were known for their lavish parties and tragic endings. "Legend has it," he continued, "that the last party held here ended in chaos. Guests reported seeing strange apparitions, voices echoing through the halls. The night culminated in a scream, and the Ravenswood family vanished without a trace." As he spoke, the air grew colder, and Emily felt an invisible weight pressing down on her. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles. Gasps filled the air, and Emily's heart raced. Was it just a draft, or was something else at play? "Don't worry, it's all part of the experience," the guide reassured them, his grin unsettling. Next, they entered the kitchen, its once vibrant colors faded and peeling. The scent of decay lingered, mingling with the musty air. The guide recounted tales of the cooks who had worked in the kitchen, rumored to have vanished during a particularly stormy night. "Some say the spirits of the kitchen still linger, bound to the place where they toiled," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "On stormy nights, you can hear their murmurs, begging for freedom." As he spoke, Emily noticed a flickering light in the corner of the kitchen. Curious, she approached it, only to find an old, rusty stove that seemed to flicker on and off. She felt a strange compulsion to reach out and touch it. Just as her fingers brushed the cold metal, a voice echoed through the room. "Help us. Please." Emily froze, heart pounding. Was she imagining things? She turned to the group, but they were too engrossed in the guide's tales to notice her unease. The voice had been soft, almost pleading. She shook her head, trying to dismiss it, but the sensation of being watched clung to her. The tour continued down a narrow hallway, the walls lined with family portraits that seemed to grow darker as they walked. The guide spoke of the cursed hallway where shadows danced and laughter echoed, even when no one was there. As they walked, Emily felt a sudden chill wash over her. A door at the end of the hallway stood slightly ajar, and she caught a glimpse of movement inside. Intrigued, she pulled away from the group and made her way toward the door. Pushing it open, she found herself in a dimly lit room filled with antique furniture draped in white sheets. Dust motes floated in the air, illuminated by the moonlight streaming through the window. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her. Panic surged through her as she turned to find herself alone. The air grew thick, and the temperature dropped dramatically. Shadows flickered in the corners of the room, and she could hear the faint whispers again, this time louder and more urgent. "Get out before it's too late." Heart racing, Emily rushed to the door, but it wouldn't budge. She pounded on it, calling for help. "Let me out!" Her voice echoed back, swallowed by the darkness. Just when she thought she'd be trapped forever, the door creaked open, revealing the guide standing there, his expression unreadable. "Lost your way?" he asked, a hint of amusement in his voice. "Let me out of here!" she shouted, her voice breaking. She stumbled past him, desperate to rejoin the group. As she re-entered the hallway, the atmosphere felt charged with energy. The group was huddled together, their faces pale and anxious. "What happened?" one of them asked, eyes wide. "I thought I heard something," Emily stammered, her heart racing. "The voices, they were calling for help." The guide chuckled, but there was a darkness behind his eyes. "The spirits of Ravenwood have their own way of communicating, but let's not linger too long. The night is still young." They continued to the library, a grand room filled with towering shelves of dusty books. The air was thick with the smell of aged paper and something else, something rotten. The guide shared stories of the Ravenswood family's secrets, how they hid their misdeeds among the pages of their books. He beckoned them to explore, encouraging them to pull down any book that caught their interest. As Emily wandered through the stacks, she felt an odd compulsion to reach for a particular book bound in cracked leather. When she opened it, a hidden note fell out, yellowed and crumpled. It read, "The key to their freedom lies within the shadows. Beware the darkness that watches." A chill ran down her spine. Was this a warning? She looked around, but the others were engrossed in their own discoveries. She slipped the note into her pocket, feeling a strange connection to it. As the tour progressed, the atmosphere shifted. The shadows grew darker and the whispers intensified, merging into a cacophony of voices. Emily felt a growing sense of urgency, as if the spirits were trying to convey a message. They moved to the dining room, where an ornate table was set for an extravagant feast. Except the plates were empty and the silverware tarnished. The guide spoke of the last dinner held in the manor, where laughter turned to screams. "The guests never left," he whispered, his voice dripping with foreboding. "They became part of the manor, bound to its dark history." Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the temperature plummeted. A shadow darted past the window, causing the group to gasp. "Did you see that?" Emily exclaimed, her heart racing. There was something outside. "Just the wind playing tricks," the guide said dismissively, but Emily could see the flicker of fear in his eyes. With each passing moment, the house seemed to come alive with dread. The group ventured into the cellar, where darkness enveloped them. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. "Welcome to the heart of Ravenwood's darkness," the guide announced, his voice echoing eerily. "This is where the Ravenswoods sealed their fate." As they entered, Emily felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Shadows flickered along the walls, and the air crackled with energy. A cold breeze swept through, whispering her name. "Emily." The voice was clearer now, resonating within her mind. "Help us." She glanced at the others, but they seemed oblivious to the supernatural presence. The guide began to speak again, but his words faded into the background as she focused on the whispers. "I need to find the key," she murmured to herself, her mind racing with the note she had found. She stepped away from the group, determined to discover the truth hidden within the shadows. In the corner of the cellar, Emily noticed a glimmering object half buried under a pile of old rags and dust. Heart pounding with anticipation, she knelt down and pulled it free. A key, ornate and shimmering in the dim light. Its intricate design mirrored the family crest she had seen throughout the manor. As she held the key in her hand, the whispers intensified, swirling around her like a tempest. "Use it. Set us free," they urged, a chorus of desperate voices intertwining in her mind. Emily felt a surge of determination. This was it, the key to uncovering the truth and potentially freeing the trapped spirits of Ravenwood. She turned back to the group, who were still gathered near the entrance. "I found something," she shouted, her voice filled with urgency. But the guide's expression had shifted from curiosity to alarm. "Emily, don't," he warned, but it was too late. The whispers grew louder, filling the cellar with an otherworldly energy. Ignoring his warning, she pushed past him and approached an old dust-covered door at the far end of the cellar. It stood ominously closed, adorned with a rusty lock that seemed to hum with anticipation. Taking a deep breath, Emily inserted the key into the lock, heart racing as she turned it. The lock clicked open with a resounding echo, and the door creaked ajar. As she stepped inside, darkness enveloped her, but a faint light flickered in the corner. The room was small and cluttered, filled with remnants of a long-forgotten life, old furniture, broken toys, and the unmistakable sense of sorrow that lingered in the air. At the center of the room stood a large mirror, its surface covered in grime. The light from the flickering bulb cast eerie shadows across the walls, and Emily felt an unshakable urge to approach it. As she stepped closer, the whispers intensified, coalescing into a single, urgent voice. "Look within, reveal the truth." With trembling hands, Emily wiped the dust from the mirror's surface, her reflection staring back at her. But as she peered closer, the glass rippled like water, revealing images from the past, scenes of lavish parties, laughter, and then chaos. She gasped as she saw the Ravenswood family, faces twisted in fear as shadows engulfed them. Then came the moment her grandfather had written about. A scream that shattered the joyous atmosphere, followed by darkness. "Help us," the voice cried again, and Emily realized that the spirits of the family were trapped within the mirror, their faces contorted in anguish. She had to do something. But what? Feeling a surge of courage, Emily reached out to the mirror, her fingertips brushing the cool surface. "I will help you," she whispered, her heart racing. "I'll set you free." Suddenly, the mirror shimmered, and she was pulled into the darkness. The world around her warped and twisted, and she found herself standing in the midst of the last party held at Ravenwood Manor. She could see the guests, their laughter ringing in her ears, but a dark shadow loomed over them, creeping closer. Panic surged through her as she realized that she was witnessing the moment of the curse, the moment the Ravenswood family was doomed to haunt their own home for eternity. "Stop," Emily shouted, but her voice was lost in the chaos. She felt helpless as the shadow enveloped the guests, their faces contorted in terror. Then everything went black. Emily awoke back in the small room, gasping for breath. The mirror stood before her, now a swirling vortex of shadow and light. She could feel the weight of the past pressing down on her, the spirits desperate for release. "Face the darkness," the voice urged. "Only then can we be free." Gathering her strength, Emily took a step toward the mirror. "I know what you are. You're the darkness that trapped them," she shouted, feeling the power of the key in her hand. The shadows writhed in response, angry and fierce. "You cannot fight what you cannot see." But Emily refused to back down. "I'm not afraid of you," she declared. "I will not let you take anyone else." With the key in hand, she thrust it toward the mirror. "Release them." The mirror shattered in a blinding flash of light, and Emily felt a rush of energy surge through her. The spirits of the Ravenswood family materialized around her, their faces now calm and grateful. "Thank you," they whispered in unison, their voices harmonizing in a beautiful chorus. "You have broken the curse." The shadows retreated, and Emily felt a warmth envelop her. The spirits, once tormented, now floated toward the light that shone through the broken mirror. As they vanished, Emily felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The air grew lighter, the oppressive atmosphere of the manor dissipating. "Emily!" Mark's voice broke through the remnants of the darkness. He rushed into the room, eyes wide with concern. "We thought we lost you." "I'm okay," she said, breathless and exhilarated. "I set them free." The guide nodded slowly, his expression shifting from arrogance to respect. "You've done what many before you could not. You've confronted the darkness of Ravenwood Manor and emerged victorious." "I can't believe what we experienced," Mark said, shaking his head in disbelief. "You're incredible, Emily." Emily smiled, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. "It wasn't just me. We all faced our fears tonight. Ravenwood will no longer haunt anyone else." As they walked away from the manor, Emily glanced back one last time. The darkness had receded, replaced by the warmth of the morning sun. As Halloween faded into memory, stories of the haunted Ravenwood Manor became legend, but the whispers of gratitude from the freed spirits lingered in the air. Emily often returned to the manor, not in fear, but in celebration, honoring the legacy of those who once called it home. And as the autumn leaves fell, the light of hope shone bright, ensuring that the shadows of the past would never return.